Deep within the dense rainforests of Central America, a silence reigns. It is a heavy, suffocating silence that has persisted for over 1,000 years. Here, the roots of giant ceiba trees strangle the limestone bones of what was once the greatest civilization in the Western Hemisphere. They were masters of the stars, architects of impossible pyramids, and keepers of time itself. The Maya built cities that rivaled the grandeur of ancient Egypt and Rome. Yet, almost in the blink of a cosmic eye, their lights went out and their voices vanished into the shadows. For centuries, explorers and archaeologists have asked the same haunting question: how does a society of 19 million people simply disintegrate? Was it the wrath of angry gods, a cataclysm from the earth, or a slow, agonizing suffocation by their own hand? The clues are hidden in the stone. To understand the fall, we must first witness the height of the climb, travel back to the classic period, around 250 AD. The jungle was not an enemy then, it was a garden. Tamed and engineered by human ingenuity to support sprawling metropolises like Tikal and Calakmul. These were not primitive settlements. They were urban powerhouses. Complex systems of reservoirs and canals manipulated water, turning the unpredictable rainy seasons into a controlled resource. They bent nature to their will, believing their dominance would last forever, etched eternally into the limestone bedrock. At the center of this world stood the divine king, the Kuhul Ajah. He was the conduit between the mortal realm and the supernatural. His power was absolute, justified by his ability to ensure rain, harvest, and victory. The entire civilization rested on the pillar of his divine connection. But pillars can crack. By the 8th century, the cracks were becoming visible. The population had exploded. The demands on the land were becoming unsustainable. The jungle, once a garden, was being stripped bare to fuel the fires for cooking and the production of lime plaster for their monuments. Recent analysis of soil layers reveals a dark truth. Deforestation was rampant. As the trees vanished, the soil eroded, washing away nutrients necessary for maize. The earth was growing tired. The civilization was literally consuming the very foundation upon which it stood. This ecological stress coincided with a shift in the heavens. Paleoclimatologists studying stalagmites in caves, nature's own climate records, have discovered evidence of a catastrophic anomaly. A series of mega droughts began to strike the Maya heartland, more severe than anything living memory could recall. Imagine the panic. The rains, which arrived like clockwork for centuries, suddenly faltered. The reservoirs, vital for the dry season, turned into stagnant, muddy pools. The green canopy turned brown. The divine king, whose primary job was to bring the rain, stood powerless on his temple. As resources dwindled, the social contract began to dissolve. Hungry populations looked for someone to blame. The elites, living in luxury while the commoners starved, faced a crisis of legitimacy. If the king cannot bring rain, perhaps he is no longer favored by the gods, or worse, perhaps he is a fraud. The inscriptions from this period change in tone. They become more desperate. We see an increase in monuments celebrating warfare. But this was not the ritualistic capture of elites for sacrifice anymore. This was total war, desperate battles for water, for food, for survival. Archaeological evidence at Dos Pilas shows hasty defensive walls. What is shocking is that these walls were built by tearing down their own palaces and temples. The sacred stones were ripped from the gods' houses to protect the mortal bodies of terrified rulers. The sanctity of a city was shattered. Trade routes, the arteries of the empire, collapsed. Obsidian, jade, and salt stopped moving. The intricate economic web that bound the Maya world together unraveled. Cities became isolated islands of fear in a dying landscape. The noise of commerce was replaced by the silence of starvation. Skeletal remains from the late classic period tell a grim tale. We find signs of severe malnutrition, stunted growth, and disease. It wasn't just the poor. Even the elite classes show signs of nutritional stress. The famine did not discriminate. The golden age had turned into an age of dust. Then came the migration. It wasn't a sudden disappearance, but a slow exodus. Families packed what they could and walked away from the gradestone cities. They moved north, towards the Yucatan, are dispersed into smaller jungle settlements. They voted with their feet, abandoning the failed state. Imagine the last days of a city like Tikal. The plazas, once filled with thousands, now hold only the wind. A few priests remain, performing rituals to gods who refuse to listen. The paint peels from the stucco. The jungle begins to creep back in, sending tendrils over the walls. One by one, the long count calendars stopped. The last known date carved at Tanina is January 15th, 909 AD. After that, silence. No more history was written. The scribes laid down their chisels. The story of the classic Maya came to an abrupt, unwritten end. But the mystery deepens. Why did they never return? Civilizations collapse, but people usually rebuild. Rome fell, but Rome is still there. The Maya cities were left to rot, treated as taboo. Did the survivors fear these places? Did they see the cities as cursed ground? For nearly 1,000 years, the forest swallowed the evidence. The Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, burning books and destroying culture. Yet they marched right past massive ruins without even seeing them. So thick was the jungle's embrace. The secrets remained safe. It wasn't until the 19th century that explorers like Stevens and Catherwood peeled back the green curtain. Their illustrations shocked the world. Here was proof of a sophisticated empire in the Americas, lost to time, but the why of its disappearance remained an enigma wrapped in roots. Today, technology is piercing the canopy. LiDAR, a laser-based remote sensing method, has stripped away the digital trees to reveal the ground below. The results are staggering. The Maya civilization was far larger, denser, and more complex than we ever imagined. We now see thousands of unknown structures, roads, and fortifications. This scale makes the collapse even more terrifying. It wasn't just a few cities falling, it was a systemic failure of a massive interconnected society. A domino effect that brought down millions. The theory of a great collapse is now being nuanced. We know that while the southern lowlands emptied, the north thrived for a while longer. Chichen Itza rose as Tikal fell. It was a geopolitical shift, a migration towards water, towards the coast, towards survival. However, the ultimate lesson of the Maya remains: a society that overextends its resources, ignores its climate reality, and allows inequality to fracture its people is doomed to fall. The stones of their empty cities serve as a warning monument to modern civilization. Yet, the Maya did not disappear completely. Their cities died, but the people survived. Today, over 6 million Maya live in Central America. They speak the languages of their ancestors and keep the calendar. The culture transformed, adapted, and endured the apocalypse. The disappearance of the classic Maya is not a singular mystery, but a complex puzzle of human ambition and environmental limits. It forces us to look in the mirror, in the silence of the jungle. If we listen closely, we might hear the echoes of our own future. Let us delve deeper into the specific evidence of the drought. The Great Blue Hole off the coast of Belize offers a submarine clue. Sediment cores drilled from this marine sinkhole show layers of titanium. Titanium levels correlate with rainfall washing from the land. During the collapse period, the titanium levels drop precipitously. This indicates almost no runoff, meaning almost no rain. This wasn't a dry summer, it was a century of thirst. The data aligns perfectly with the abandonment of the major southern cities. But drought alone doesn't kill a civilization. It is how the leadership responds. In the Maya world, the response was more rituals, more sacrifices, and more temple building to appease the gods. They doubled down on ideology when they needed technology and adaptation. This rigidity is a trap, the sunk cost fallacy of the ancient world. They had invested so much in their system of divine kingship that they couldn't imagine a world without it. To change their way of life was to admit that their entire understanding of the universe was wrong. We also find evidence of internecine warfare. The Bonampak murals, discovered in 1946, show vivid scenes of battle and torture. Before this discovery, scholars thought the Maya were peaceful stargazers. These paintings shattered that illusion. The end was violent and bloody. The collapse was likely a feedback loop. Drought leads to hunger. Hunger leads to civil unrest. Unrest leads to war. War destroys the infrastructure needed to handle the drought. It is a spiral of death, spinning faster and faster until the center cannot hold. Consider the role of disease. While we have less direct evidence, crowded cities with failing water systems are breeding grounds for pathogens. Dysentery and fevers would have swept through the weakened population, delivering the final blow to a society already on its knees. There is also a theory of trade disruption from outsiders. The Putan Maya, seafaring merchants from the Gulf Coast, began to dominate trade routes. They bypassed the inland cities, cutting off their economic lifeline. The great capitals of the interior became ghost towns of irrelevant geography. The psychological impact of the collapse cannot be overstated. When the people left, they didn't just move, they terminated their culture's monuments. We find statues that have been intentionally defaced, faces smashed off, a rejection of the old order and the gods that failed them. In the post-collapse world, the Maya reorganized. They built smaller, more pragmatic towns. They stopped raising stelae to kings. The focus shifted from the glorification of the individual ruler to the survival of the community. It was a democratization born of necessity. This period gives us a glimmer of hope. It shows human resilience, even after the end of their world. The Maya found a new way to be. They adapted to the new climate reality. They learned from the hubris of their ancestors. But the great cities were never reoccupied. They became places of myth. The local Maya who stayed in the region hunted among the ruins but never lived in them. They knew the stories. They knew that the stone giants were sleeping, and it was best not to wake them. Let's return to the water. The cenotes, those sacred sinkholes, hold more than just offerings. They were the lifeblood of the Yucatan. As surface water dried up in the south, the northern cities with access to the subterranean aquifer became the new centers of power. Chichen Itza represents the fusion of Maya and Toltec styles. It was a cosmopolitan city, a melting pot. This suggests that the collapse of the classic period opened the door to outside influences. Crisis created an opportunity for cultural evolution. The layout of these later cities was different. They were more open, less focused on restricting access to the elite. The architecture itself reflects a shift in social structure. The god kings were gone, replaced by councils of nobles and merchants. Yet, even Chichen Itza eventually fell. By the 13th century, it too was abandoned. The cycle of rise and fall continued, though on a smaller scale. Mayapan rose, then fell. It seems the environment of the region was always a precarious partner. What can we learn from the mathematics of their collapse? Complexity science suggests that as a society becomes more complex, it becomes more fragile. It requires more energy to maintain. When the energy input, crops, drops, the complexity cannot be supported, and the system simplifies rapidly. The Maya were victims of their own success. They engineered their landscape so thoroughly that they lost their resilience. They had no buffer left. When the climate shifted, they had nowhere to maneuver. Efficiency became their enemy. There is a haunting beauty in the ruins today, the way the light hits the temple of the inscriptions at Palenque. It reminds us of the impermanence of all things. Ozymandias, in the jungle, look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. But we must be careful not to romanticize the collapse. It was a horrific human tragedy. Millions died, parents watched their children starve. It was a time of immense suffering. The silence we hear today is the silence of a graveyard. The Maya scribes were obsessed with time. They tracked cycles of millions of years. Did they see this coming? Their prophecies often spoke of endings and beginnings. Perhaps they understood that every sun must set, that every cycle must close. Modern archaeology is now asking, could the Maya have saved themselves? If they had stopped deforestation earlier? If they had controlled their population? Or was the climate shift so severe that no ancient technology could have withstood it? The answer is likely a mix. They could have mitigated the damage, but the drought was a monster. However, their political disunity prevented a coordinated response. The city-states were too busy fighting each other to fight the changing climate together. This is a stark warning for our fragmented world. Environmental crises do not respect borders. If we remain divided like the Maya city-states, we risk sharing their fate. The past is a mirror, and the reflection is alarming. As we enter the final act of this mystery, we must acknowledge the resilience of the jungle. Nature always wins in the end. It reclaims the stone. It swallows the pride of kings. It covers the scars of the earth with green. The Maya ruins are now protected heritage sites. Millions of tourists visit them every year. They climb the pyramids and take photos. But few truly grasp the magnitude of the silence. They walk on the graves of a lost world. The decipherment of the Maya script in the late 20th century was a breakthrough. Suddenly, the stones could speak. We learned the names of the kings, Thakal, Jasa Chan Kawil. They became real people, not just mysterious figures. We read of their anxieties, their wars, their rituals. We read of their belief that they were the center of the cosmos. It is heartbreaking to read these declarations of eternal power knowing how soon it would all end. The search continues. Archaeologists are still finding new sites. In 2018, litter revealed over 60,000 previously unknown structures in Guatemala alone. The map of the Maya world is being redrawn every year. The jungle has not given up all its secrets. Future discoveries may clarify the timeline of the collapse. We might find a Pompeii of the Maya, a site abandoned so quickly that daily life is frozen in place. Such a find would be the Holy Grail, offering a snapshot of the final moment. Until then, we must piece together the narrative from fragments, pollen samples, tree rings, broken pottery, and eroded carvings. It is a detective story where the victim died 1,000 years ago, and the culprit is a complex gang of forces. The legacy of the Maya contributes to our understanding of the Anthropocene. They were one of the first civilizations to significantly alter their environment on a massive scale. Their collapse is case study number 1 for environmental sustainability. As the sun sets over the ruins of Tikal today, the howler monkeys call out. It is a primal sound, echoing through the empty plazas. It serves as a reminder that nature is indifferent to human ambition. We are guests here, not masters. The disappearance of the Maya is not just a history lesson, it is a prophecy. It whispers to us about the fragility of complex systems. It tells us that rain is not guaranteed, that soil can die, and that societies can fail. But it also speaks of survival. The Maya people are still here. They adapted, they change, they prove that while empires fall, culture is resilient. The spirit of the Maya did not vanish, it merely changed its shape. In the end, the mystery draws us in because it is the ultimate whodunit. But the killer wasn't a single person. It was a perfect storm of climate, politics, and ecology, a tragedy written in 3 acts: rise, overreach, and fall. So, when you look at the pyramids, do not just see stones. See the ambition, the fear, the prayers, and the desperate final days. Hear the silence. It is the loudest sound in history. The jungle keeps its secrets well, but we are slowly learning to read the leaves. The story of the Maya is still being written. One litter scan, one excavation, one translation at a time. The shadows are lifting. As we conclude our journey, remember, civilizations are not immortal. They are living, breathing entities that require care, balance, and foresight. The Maya forgot this, and the jungle took them back. But in the faces of the Maya children in Guatemala today, there is a future that honors the past but is not bound by it. The long count continues, not in stone, but in the hearts of the people. The disappearance of the Maya civilization, it remains one of the most profound chapters in the human story. A chapter of brilliance and shadow, a reminder that even the greatest stars eventually fade into the night. Thank you for journeying with us into the mystery. The jungle waits, the stones wait, and the questions remain, driving us to explore, to understand, and to remember. From the shadows of the past to the light of knowledge, this has been the story of the Maya. May their silence guide us towards a more sustainable future. End of transmission. The wind continues to blow over the hill, carrying the dust of 12,000 years.